This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming Audree Wahlen. She is one of the chairpersons at Sinister Creature Con, the great horror con I go to in Sacramento a couple times a year that I just friggin' love. And back in June when I was there, it's funny, I had seen her name like a million times on the website, but never knew who she was or what she looked like. And she flagged me down on the way out and told me how much she loved my Killer Clowns t-shirt. And she gave me a flyer for a Killer Clowns event that I couldn't make, unfortunately, but I thought she was so cool. We got each other's contact info, and I started listening to her podcast, Cider, Beer, and Fear, which is freaking hilarious. Her and her friend Kelly do that podcast. And today we're just going to nerd out on horror and talk about Sinister Creature Con and all of our con experiences and so forth. And it's going to be a great conversation today. And I can't wait, Halloween October is just getting better and better, getting some great, amazing guests, even with all the bullshit that's going on in the world today, At least I'm trying to provide, some fun, lightheartedness for everyone to forget their problems for a little bit and have nice talks about, the simple pleasures of the world. So yeah, here is my interview with Audree Wahlen.
Hi there.
Hey, Audree, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Doing good, Tommy. How are you?
I am fantastic. It was such a pleasure running into you at Sinister Creature Con back in June, and I knew from then on I was going to invite you to come on, so thank you so much for taking the time tonight.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. That means a lot to me, actually.
Absolutely. So, I was brought up to never ask a lady how old she is, but for context's sake, I'm 40. Are you close to my age?
I'm 10 years younger. I'll be 31 this year, so.
Nice.
Well, it's not polite to ask a lady her age.
I know, but it's just, over time, stereotypically, it's just like one of those things that women hate,
I actually really don't mind it. For the most part, people either say I look my age or I look younger than that, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 40. So, what was the first horror movie you ever saw?
Oh my gosh. Okay, first horror movie I ever saw. Oh my goodness, that's a good question. I honestly can't tell you. Let me think. Probably was one of the Gremlins films.
Yeah.
So when I saw Gremlins, I was like, oh, okay, this is considered a horror movie. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But as a kid, my parents were very, religious. And so to them, that was a horror movie.
Yeah.
And then when I got older, Chucky became, the next film that I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I was a year old when my parents showed me The Shining. That was my first horror movie, and it fucked me up, I'll tell you. And it wasn't until I was 7 I watched it again. It was on the USA Network for the Halloween season one night, and I was like, okay, it's not as scary as I thought it was. I actually think it's pretty funny, and it's always been one of my favorites. So
that's because it's a great film.
it is. It's a fantastic film. Stephen King unfortunately doesn't like it. That's why he remade it on TV.
I haven't even watched the new TV, so I have nothing to compare it to yet, and I don't know if I really want to be fair.
That came out in the late '90s. It's not that good. It's kind of shitty, to be honest, in my opinion. Yeah, and then I watched Ghostbusters and Gremlins during the summer of '86. HBO would play those over and over again.
Yes.
And that was like my my reference for horror for a while. Also, Night of the Comet. I love that movie, and it wasn't until I was 8 that I got into the Jason movies when my parents were asleep, because I had seen Nightmare on Elm Street 3 when I was 4, and that fucked me up when Philip turned into a puppet, so I didn't want to see that kind of a horror movie for a while, but then Jason just, really opened the door for me.
Yeah, no, for me, I can definitely say I started really getting into the Vincent Price movies,
Mm-hmm.
and those were kind of my like secondary intro into horror. So they were a lot older of films, of course, but really and truthfully, House on Haunted Hill has always been a favorite of mine.
Oh yeah, I love that movie too, with the skeletons in the bathtub.
Not the new one though. The new one was during an era that's called, which I'm sure you already know, but it was like the torture porn era of horror. And I honestly, it was the same style every time, and I got sick of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to the director of that movie, Bill Malone, because he did Creature back in the 80s. I love that movie.
Oh, such a good movie.
Yeah, and there was that period where I was actually worried about the future of horror because it got really, really dark and gross, but then in the last 7 years, I have really worried about the future of horror to the point where I'd rather watch those movies than these ones that I see now.
Yeah, I can agree with that sentiment, because it really depends too, like on what genre of horror you're referring to as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of gone downhill, but I think that's fair in a lot of horror films, like time periods. It'll go down and then it'll come back up, and then it'll go down, like way down, and then it comes right back up.
So, what are your favorites? Like, give me a whole list.
Oh yeah, so like I said, House on Haunted Hill, hands down one of my favorite films. If we're doing comedy horror, I definitely love Young Frankenstein. Like that was, of course, like one of the classics. But if we go into like horror, I love the Saw series. For me, watching that was like one of the first times I got to watch anything super gory. And then of course the Halloween series, which everybody knows, except for the newer ones. I'm a little bit, I have my own opinions on those ones. Yeah. And then I would probably say Chucky has always been a favorite of mine. The relationship is just, it's so aspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the first Friday the 13th is my favorite slasher movie.
Nice.
It's a Halloween ripoff, but the best one. And I just, it takes me back to 8, seeing it and just falling in love with it and falling in love with Adrienne King. I never thought her and I would become friends. It's just, it's so surreal to me.
That's so cool. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on those as well, because really and truthfully, the ones that are hit hard for everybody, right, is like the Halloween series, the Friday the 13th, a lot of times Chucky, a lot of times Scream, and then of course like the Leatherface, like, those were great. The Chainsaw Massacres, there were a few that were really bad, and then there were a few that were really good. So.
Yeah, I'm a huge Dawn of the Dead fan. That movie got me through a difficult time in my life when I was 19, 20, 21 years old. After my grandmother had passed, I got into the Romero zombie movies a lot more than I had because they weren't on TV when I was a kid. For some reason, Rubenstein, who owned the rights to the movies, he didn't want to put them on TV for some reason, and the video store shelves that I was going to didn't have them, so I got into them because they were on the video stores that I was living near, and stuff. So yeah. I got into it there. I love Carrie. I love
of course
Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Reanimator, The Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, who doesn't love Evil Dead? I mean, we just did a watch with me with Bruce Campbell, and that was fantastic. I was so excited.
I met Bruce, crazy guy.
Yeah, he's such a character and super sweet. He's fun to work with for sure.
Yeah, I got Betsy Baker coming back on tomorrow to talk more about the movie.
That's awesome. You must be excited.
Oh, I'm very excited. Yeah. The Howling, Night of the Demons, Return of the Living Dead, Vamp, Leprechaun 3, Hellraiser, Phantasm. Yeah, I mean, I have great taste in horror, I think.
I can agree. I also would add in there House of a Thousand Corpses, some Rob Zombie films. Personally, I actually like those horror films. For me, they're really like kind of campy-ish for me.
I just had the Sex Slave Girl from House of a Thousand Corpses on last week. Yeah, I've gotten to respect it more in recent years because again, that was one of the ones that I thought, oh God, is this what horror is going to become? And plus, I didn't know who Herschel Gordon Lewis was at that time. I found out about him later, so it has kind of a Herschel Gordon Lewis feel to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think they did a wonderful job on those kinds of films, and like I don't think it went that direction too much when it comes to horror. I think it's kind of gone a little back and forth on the teeter-totter, right? It's gone like one way, and then all of a sudden it goes super far the other way, and you're like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
Case in point was like, I really feel that the newer horror films that were created like right after, the COVID, right after that time period just were really bad for me. Like I couldn't even stand to watch horror for a short period of time because they were just really bad. And so, before that though, like films like Haunt came out and stuff, those were good. Like I really enjoyed those.
Yeah. I mean, as far as 90s horror goes, I liked Candyman and the first Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer. I wasn't a big fan of Final Destination or the Blair Witch Project, but I do respect.
Why?
I do respect the Blair Witch Project for what it did for the genre at that time, and that's fucking amazing. It made over $200 million worldwide on such a tiny budget. I like that, but just I don't know. I didn't get it.
I think that film, like, I liked the concept. Mm-hmm. The execution wasn't there for me. I know that it's a staple for people, the Blair Witch. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think that even the new one that they did still, I think they took it to a whole nother level of like, is it aliens? Is it a witch? Is it like, what is it? And I was a little confused by it. So I can agree with that. But Blair Witch itself, the concept was great. I love found footage films. For me, those are interesting and engaging, but they have to have a good story, like a good arc.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe if I saw it again now, I would probably appreciate it more because I'm older. But yeah, at the time, I was just like, yeah, this is not for me.
Yeah. No, I can see that being a thing. I really liked Ghost Ship. I don't know if you've seen that, but I watch it every Halloween. It's one of my favorites too.
Ghost Ship. What year was it made?
You know what? I want to say it was in the 2000s, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
Which is probably why it's not a favorite of yours.
Because I'm thinking of there was a something ship in the early '80s with Nick Mancuso and a couple people. They're like on a boat, and it's a really horrific situation. I'm thinking of that.
I think I know which one you're talking about. I don't remember the name though. Because Ghost Ship, came out 2002. So that was a little after the 90s, but still, I was a 90s baby anyway, so I was catching up to all the horror films I didn't get to watch during my childhood.
Yeah. I love the Universal monster movies. In the early 90s, Universal put out all of the monster movies on VHS again. They reissued them, and they had like a huge collection of Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, Phantom of the Opera, all that stuff. And I got into it then. I think the Dracula from 1931 is the best Dracula movie ever made. Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, you like that one?
I do. I very much like those. I'm a big fan of like older films just because I feel the storytelling was really well done. It was a lot of fun. It just kind of has that air to it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I can definitely agree. That was definitely the best.
Oh, I just looked it up. It was called Death Ship.
Death Ship.
1980, yes.
That sounds familiar. Yeah, I think I
It's got Nick Mancuso, Richard Crenna, George Kennedy, Kate Reed, Saul Rubinek. Yeah, it took place on a boat, and yeah, it was shot in Canada. Huh.
That's awesome. So I have a question for you then.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on 90s sci-fi horror? Because a lot of people would say that sci-fi horror isn't horror, but I personally believe it is. So
It's funny. I kind of checked out on 90s sci-fi horror when it was going on, just because it just didn't look too thrilling to me at the time. Maybe that's something I'd go and re-examine now, you know.
yeah, go back and check it out. Kind of like, because Alien technically is one of those. So
Yeah,
like
I didn't think the Alien sequels after the second one was particularly good.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
I just thought that they were tired, you know, like Sigourney Weaver just had this, like, you know, been there, done that kind of a thing.
Sounds about right. But that's how that argument could be also said for some of the Halloween series films.
Yes, agreed. Agreed.
That's how I felt. On that.
What's your opinion on Halloween 3? Because it's not really a Halloween movie; it's just in name only.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, in name only. I think that's what I would say as well. Is when I go back to it and I kind of like rewatch them, right? Because I rewatch these like maybe once a year, just to kind of get an idea of like, you know, has anything changed for me? Do I see anything different? Like, what's that? No, no, I don't. It was a standalone film. It should have been a standalone film.
Yeah, I like it for what it is, especially with Stacey Nelkin, who's become a friend. Every time I have her on, she makes me laugh out loud with that Brooklyn accent, and she's just so cool. She's like one of the guys and stuff. Yeah, let's see. I love the original Little Shop of Horrors. You know, all the Roger Corman stuff. Yeah.
My name is in it. I mean, can
Audree.
you? I get it. All people say that's how they remember my name. They're like, "Oh, from Little Shop of Horrors." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take it." Most people say Audrey Hepburn, but I like that one better.
Yep, I've interviewed Jackie Joseph, who played Audrey, a couple times, and she had little nice anecdotes about the movie. You know, they only shot that movie in 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to one of your episodes recently that you were talking about that, and I found that so fascinating how some of these films back in the 90s or earlier on were like really created in a very short period of time, and they barely had like any type of, what do you call it, budget, but then they made like amazing amounts of money.
Oh yeah, I mean Fred Olen Ray, he would shoot movies probably 5 or 6 days on a $50,000 budget, and they would have it out, you know, a month later or something.
Yeah, it blows my mind. I actually did an episode on my podcast about that in particular for Evil Dead, actually, because they did it in a short period of time. They, not like as short as that, but they did it with a really low budget. They did not expect it to do as well as it did. And so when it did, and it's funny too, because Bruce Campbell himself has said like, it was like his least favorite that he did. I was like, oh, that really sucks. Like, because we love that film. It's a cult classic for us. We adore it. And he's over here like, no.
Yeah. I think nowadays horror has just become too serious and dark in tone, and it's just not fun like it was in the 80s with the humor, and I think it's become homogenized, and you know, it's just slow burning. You know, I like it when it's a little bit more fast paced, but the scares, I don't mind them being slow burning just as long as it's not 20 minutes like a lot of them are nowadays.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I like that campy feel to a lot of like the films that I watch, but I also like the feeling of actually kind of like engaging and feeling a little scared, like, oh shit, that could really happen to me in real life, which some films do for me, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just like way too over, like the types of films that I actually really struggle with, which is weird. I can watch it, but I always get this little twinge is whenever there's like human sacrifice involved. And whenever that happens, I'm always like, yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, Carpenter or Romero, those were my horror director guys, because I loved how they did social commentary. I loved how they got so many great actors to be in the movie, and sometimes they would use the same people. And I just thought that their movies were just the most entertaining, you know. I mean, I liked Wes Craven and Tobe Hooper and everyone else, but those guys were my guys growing up.
Oh, for sure. What are your thoughts on like Puppet Master and like Sleepaway Camp? Like, what are your thoughts on those films?
I love Puppet Master. I've talked to a bunch of people from it. Robin Freitas, she just did her first like convention last year at ChillerCon, and
Oh, wow.
I reached out to her for an interview, and I couldn't believe she said yes to me, and it was fun. Oh my God, she was just laughing a lot and just having a good time. She was very comfortable with me, and Sleepaway Camp. I do love Sleepaway Camp. I had a crush on Felissa Rose when I was a kid, and
Everybody did.
when I met her at my very first Sinister Creature Con in 2016,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
she was just so lovely to me, and it was so surreal. In fact, when I raised my hand to ask a question at the panel, she literally pointed at me and said, "Tommy Kovac."
That's so cool. It's gotta feel good to be recognized by humans like that.
Yes, I agree, because there's so many creeps in this industry, a lot of them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I love early 80s slasher movies, especially from 1981. To me, that was the best year.
Okay.
Because after Friday the 13th Part 2, you had My Bloody Valentine, Bloody Birthday,
Yes.
Happy Birthday to Me, The Pit, Final Exam, Just Before Dawn, Mad Men.
Reanimator.
No, Reanimator was 85.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, all of those I mentioned. The Prowler, I love them all. There's similar kills in all of them, but they all take place in different parts of the world. Some were shot in New York, some were shot in LA, some were shot in the rural woods of Canada. I mean, I just love them. Have you ever seen Don't Go Into the Woods?
No, what's that about?
When I mentioned that movie, no, not even the most hardcore horror fan knows it. Okay, 1981. It's just your typical slasher about a bunch of young people going on a camping trip in the woods and getting laid and then getting slaughtered, pretty much. And
Okay. As usual.
yes. And the guy who directed it, he came from porn, and this is like his only non-porn movie. And I reached out to him for an interview, and
Is that James Bryan?
What? I'm sorry?
James Bryan?
No, I think his name is Jim.
Oh, Jim. Okay.
Yeah, and his vocal cords are completely gone, sadly, and he couldn't do it. But then I reached out to one of the victims, who was actually, her and her husband were like crew members, and then I interviewed her husband after that, and they were so nice to me, and they just laughed that anybody even remembered this movie.
That's crazy. I'm going to have to watch it now. Like, you're putting it on my to-watch list.
I think it's on YouTube. Don't Go in the Woods, 1981.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah. During the pandemic, I discovered all these really obscure slasher movies I had never seen before, and I've been watching them over and over again. I've been getting people on the show to talk about them, and it's just so friggin' cool. There's one person I talked to earlier today. There's this horror movie from Canada called Skullduggery, about this this guy. He likes to play Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Me too.
Yeah, the board game of it. And he's like in a theater production about the medieval times, and he's possessed by this game, and so he kills people in like armor and stuff. It's so friggin' funny.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. Watch that one too. It's on YouTube.
I was just about to say, now I'm going to add that one. So what was it called again?
Skullduggery.
Skullduggery. Wow, sounds so fancy.
I'm going to give you a list because there's so many that I think you would like.
Oh, heck yeah. I can talk about them on mine.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Who are your favorite horror directors?
Oh, gosh. It really... Honestly, I'm really bad with names. I'm not going to lie. But if I went with production companies, because that I can go with, I actually adore Blumhouse. I know that it's a very, like, obscure for people. Like, people are like, oh, that's so typical, or they'll either say that, or they'll say, oh, that's such a dumb, like, production company. And for me, I'm like, no, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Like, they do fantastic films. They do really good storylines. Their camera work is amazing. So for me, I very much, but that I know that's a lot more new school than it is old school. So when it comes to old school directors, I'm actually really bad. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm a big David Cronenberg fan as well. Videodrome, The Dead Zone, Scanners, Rabid, The Brood, love all those ones.
See, when you say them, then suddenly I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Well,
I can't name them off the top of my head. I'm just like, I don't even know their names. I just like their films.
I think everyone knows The Dead Zone because that's Christopher Walken.
Of course.
Yeah, and The Fly.
And of course, everybody loves John Carpenter, of course. Alfred Hitchcock, classics.
Yeah, and The Fly, of course, was a Vincent Price movie, but when Cronenberg remade it, he made it much more morbid with Jeff Goldblum in it, and I think it's one of his best movies.
I never saw the new one, so I'm gonna have to check that one out too, because I like morbid, I like macabre, I like the very like darker of things without it being like ridiculous. Because these days, like everything's just about blood and guts, and for me, that doesn't have enough substance. Like you need to have like a good arc or a good storyline or a good whatever. And unfortunately, now it's just how bloody can we make this film?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like the Charlie Band Empire movies?
So you're gonna have to enlighten me or remind me about that.
He made Trancers, Troll, Eliminator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Troll is good. In fact, we recently Go ahead.
Ghoulies.
Ghoulies. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, when you name films, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, Troll, oh God, was a huge staple of my life growing up, and I still love it. And
oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Charlie Band, he did so much good stuff with such little money, just like Corman and all of them did, and yet he's got so many people suing him for not paying.
Oh my gosh! Seriously?
Yeah. Seriously.
That's awful.
Oh yeah, Brian Usna, when he produced Reanimator, yeah, he sued Charlie Band right in the middle of producing From Beyond because of no payment. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I did. Brian, he told me the story when he was on. He had to leave Empire and go somewhere else after From Beyond, and he did very well for himself because he did The Dentist, he did Return of the Living Dead 3, he did one of the Silent Night, Deadly Night sequels. Yeah.
Oh, I liked that one.
The first one's my favorite, and I like the second one too.
Oh, see, I didn't really watch the second one, and I think I got bored.
Well, I'll tell you, in the second one, he kills somebody by shooting them with a handgun. It's like, that is such a boring death for a horror movie. Why you want to do that?
I'm not gonna lie, that's not wrong. Like, I actually watch horror movies sometimes for the death scenes. I'm just like, okay, what craziness is about to happen right now, and how good of a kill is it? I'll rate them,
Yeah. Oh, I love watching the kills and see what's going to happen. It's funny. In Nightmare on Elm Street 5, what's his name gets turned into a comic book and gets shredded, right?
Right. That is a very iconic moment.
I always hated that kill. I always thought it was weak.
What?
I do. It reminds me kind of like when the animated shoe gets thrown into the benzene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's like, it's so obvious,
But that's still still a great scene. Like, you have to admit, it's still a great scene.
Yeah, well, if I had to choose the best death in Part 5, it has to be Erica Anderson having her guts ripped out and fed to her. I love that.
That actually is a fantastic scene. Anything that has to do with that makes you kind of a little nauseous inside, it's a keeper.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great deaths in the Freddy franchise. I love Jennifer Rubin's death as Taryn with the heroin needles. I love. Oh God, I'm trying to think. Of course, the is it sausage pizza, meatball pizza in Part 4?
Ew, no.
That's so gross, but so funny.
No, I don't want to think about it. Ew.
Okay, I found your weak point, Audrey. I found it.
Gross. It's gross. It's not even that bad, but still, like, when your brain and you're watching something, and you're just like, you're making the stink face the whole time. That's when you know you're like, okay, yeah, that's gross.
I have a high tolerance for gross. I mean, it is so high. But then every once in a while there'll be something where I'll be like, yeah, that's too much. I'm gonna get nauseous and throw up.
Yeah. So scenes. Okay. So like full transparency and kind of grossness incoming your way. My ick is like watching films like Don't Breathe, where he like takes his semen and like goes to like inject her, and then all of a sudden he gets stabbed in the mouth, and like I just wanted, yeah, I can't. That scene is pretty disgusting.
I've never seen Don't Breathe.
You didn't see Don't Breathe? Oh, no. My goodness. Well, it is a newer film, but it's interesting, and like it follows a storyline of like this guy who basically encaged a person, and then these kids broke into this house to like steal from him, and then they found the girl, they release her, and then he's like some kind of freaking army dude who can do crazy shit even though he's blind, and he like entraps them, and they have to figure out how to get out. It's really good, nice. But that scene for me was just like nauseating.
Yeah. How about heavy metal horror? Do you like any of those?
So heavy metal horror, are you like referring to films like The Raven? Like, what are we referring
to? Black Roses or Rocktober Blood or Rock and Roll
The
Nightmare?
Crow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I dig it. I never really got into it, but I dig it. I'm always up for a new genre.
Yeah, Terror on Tour. I think that was the first official heavy metal horror movie after Dario Argento did that one in the early 70s with the rock band, but that wasn't really a heavy metal band. They were more like Badfinger rather than Black Sabbath. But Terror on Tour, they were like a Kiss kind of band, and they're like accused of killing a groupie, which is so funny because you think to yourself, who the fuck cares about a groupie?
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
So, like, Hard Rock Zombies then would be considered like heavy metal horror.
I love that movie.
Okay.
I've talked to many people from it. I just love Hard Rock Zombies.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually never really knew there was a genre of like heavy metal horror films. Like I would never have thought of that. Like I would have just considered them like horror films.
Well, it's funny because the bands who were in these movies, a lot of them were real bands, and they thought this was going to be their stepping stone to having platinum success, like all the hair metal bands that came out in the 80s. But it never happened for any of them. Hard Rock Zombies had E.J. Curse. He had a band called Silent Rage for over 12 years. They had no success, and then Gene Simmons finally discovered them. But by the time that they signed to a label, like the market was so oversaturated, they could barely get MTV airplay.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How long did that period last? That was only like a short period of time, wasn't it? Or is it a pretty ongoing like genre?
Which one?
The like heavy metal horror films. Like, was that like a certain era in time, or does it continue?
I don't know if it's continuing. I haven't been in the loop with heavy metal horror lately. I haven't seen one since probably the early 90s at least.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to check them out because some of the like the ones that I know of, like Deathgasm and Lords of Chaos and like those, like I know those.
Yeah.
I just never thought of them as like a heavy metal rock horror films.
Yeah, I mean today, the ones that I've seen of horror overall today that I like. I mean, I liked Happy Death Day. I liked Get Out. I liked the first chapter of it. I didn't like the second one as much.
Why?
I just thought that it just wasn't as fun as the first one.
See, I kind of liked the second one a little bit more, like in the newer ones. Like, if you're talking about the newer ones. If you're talking about the old one, like, okay, yeah. No, the newer ones, so the first one was kind of like, for me, but the second one I kind of liked a little bit more. It kind of just like, I don't know, I guess I'm weird like that.
Yeah. Have you seen Beyond the Gates?
No, what's that one?
Okay, it's about two brothers. They're reunited after estrangement because their father just died, and he left them the video store that he owned, and he had these VHS board games, and there's this one called Beyond the Gates. Barbara Crampton is the curator of it. She produced this movie, and next thing you know, their father's coming back trying to kill them. It is so fucking great. I saw this.
That sounds fun. Is it kind of campy too? Like, is it a little bit comedic?
It's very comedic, but semi-campy. Yes.
Oh.
It's like Witchboard in the Gate.
Got it. Okay, that'd be interesting. I'm gonna have to watch that one. I didn't even realize. Is that like one that was like an independent type film, or was it something that came out like in a...
Yes, came out in 2016. Okay. Barbara was living in San Francisco at the time, and so I went to the premiere, and we like hung out at the bar and talked because we had met at a convention before, and that was great. And it was a really great screening. It was one of those nights I'll never forget.
Oh, did you have a lot of fun?
I did, yes. I mean, by that point I couldn't drink anymore, but Barbara had a couple drinks and she made me laugh, I'll tell you.
That's awesome. Man, you have so many good stories. I kind of wish like I had some more cool stories about like stuff like that.
well, yeah, I wanted to ask you now. I mean, like, when did you go to your first horror con? Long before Sinister Creature Con came into the mix.
So, believe it or not, Sinister Creature Con had been like the only and first con I had ever gone to.
Really?
But yeah, like, and it's funny too how it happened because I've only been to Sinister Creature Con as a patron once, and then I worked it with a friend of mine, and I had a lot of fun. And then I worked it again, just in a leadership position. Then I worked it again in a higher leadership position, and now I'm working it again. So to be honest, it's surprising, I know, but I've always been in like to horror type things. I mean, I work with a lot of different clubs in Sacramento, and so being involved with those different people, I've had a lot of exposure, but I never actually got to go to like a con because one, I don't really spend money to go to cons, just for the fact that I'm broke, like I'm poor, I don't have money, so if I got to work it or hang out with somebody who was doing it, like I would take advantage of it. But to be honest, I love Sinister Creature Con when I first went to it, and I fell in love since.
Yeah, because I remember seeing your name on the website a few times. So when was the first one you were at?
So if you want to say the first one I ever went to was almost 3 years prior from now. What was that? So 2021, 2020, right around there. Or 2021, I think. Or was it 2020?
Yeah.
One of those was not, one of them we didn't have, I remember, because of the pandemic. But I went to that one for the first time, and just as a patron. Yeah. And then work was different.
My first was 2016. That's when I met Felissa, and I met Jennifer Rubin and Ken Sagos and John Kassir. And, I had gone to my first con, my first horror con back in April of that year at Monsterpalooza in Pasadena. Have you ever gone there?
No, I want to so bad, though. I've had so many people tell me about it, and technically we have a booth there almost every year, so I really I'm thinking next time I want to be the one to go.
Oh, it is great. There's like 30 or 40 celebrities there. Sometimes they all tie together depending on the project. Oh, it is awesome. Sadly, I've had to miss the last couple of years because of COVID and financial shit. But I always have Sinister Creature Con as an alternative to go to. Thank God, because it's only in Sacramento. But yeah, my first Monsterpalooza, oh God, that day I met Catherine Mary Stewart and Kelly Maroney. I met Fred Williamson, Robert Hayes, David Naughton, Brink Stevens, Kathleen Kidmont. Yeah, it was crazy.
I bet that cost you a pretty penny and some time in line.
It did and it didn't. I got lucky because the people I didn't get autographs from and stuff, they liked me, and they liked the fact that, that despite the fact that I'm injured and I walk with a cane, that at least I was getting out of the house and stuff. So there wasn't any long lines or anything. So I got to have conversations with them even if I didn't buy anything.
That's awesome. I think that's really great that you've been able to create basically a community for yourself. I love that.
I'm trying, it's been great the last 6 years. It's just been a lot of fun, and every day I'm pinching myself like, oh my God, because 10 years ago I was a fucking drunken mess. I was just, oh my God, I was on everybody's shit list 10 years ago.
Hopefully that is no longer the case.
I've apologized to a lot of people. Some people have told me to go fuck myself. Others have said, I am so proud of you, and I didn't think you would ever pull yourself out of this, but I'm so proud of you. So I have that going for me.
Well, good. That's exciting. I think it's very commendable. So bravo, props to you for being able to do that. A lot of people can't. But at the same time, props to those people for being, so willing to accept it and also support you going forward,
Yeah, thank you so much. So what's your primary job function for Sinister Creature Con?
Oh, okay. So my primary job function upon hiring was front of house management. However, it has developed into a producer. So I am a co-producer for Sinister Creature Con now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I remember back in 2017, they experimented with having Sinister Creature Con at the Stockton Arena. Were you at that one?
I was not, but I am very well aware of the fun that ensued. That was
a total mindfuck. I ended up going to the Stockton Con there a couple times after that, but oh my God, it is just so. It's so hard with metal in my leg going up those stairs. It's just a long walk and just a lot of a workout at that place,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of frustrating when you go somewhere that you're trying to have fun and relax, and you still have to exhaust yourself to get from one end to the other. I feel like it's great because there's so much depth or whatever, but it also sucks. Joke.
It does, but I like going to it though. But I'm glad that you guys are at the Scottish Rite Center and stuff. What are the best and worst celebrity meetings you've had so far?
Ooh. I actually got really excited because I got to meet, first, Bruce Campbell was my first, real, feeling starstruck, because he really is so fantastic. I had such a blast. But I also got to sit down with, and you know what, forgive me because I'm going to say her name wrong right now, but the actress who originally played Wednesday,
Christina Ricci?
You know her name? No, Wednesday from the original Addams Family.
Lisa Loring, I've met her.
Yes, yeah, and I got to sit with her, and we talked, and we laughed, and I was basically her liaison. I sat there with her while she had her break, told people not right now, she'll be back in a little bit. Yeah. And she was so sweet. She was so much fun. I personally have been very lucky. I have not dealt personally with any celebrities that are difficult, but I am extremely excited to work with Elvira this coming event. So Cassandra, I'm so excited.
I cannot wait. That is going to be fantastic. So when I go to Monsterpalooza every year, her table is all the way out into the parking lot, so I've never been able to meet her. But I got my photo op. I bought it last week. I got the tickets. I'm saving my money for everything else, and I'm so fucking excited for Elvira. I love that movie, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I used to watch it with a girl that I dated. I dated a girl who had a girl crush on her, and we watched that
you
one.
Did.
Yeah, we'd watch the sequel and stuff. I don't like the sequel as much. I mean, it's okay, but I love the original, and it's a movie I can quote over and over again.
Oh, wow. She's amazing. I have her book, like, autographed and signed. Like, I adore her. Like, I'm going to be a little in awe fangirling, and I don't usually fangirl over celebrities. I'm usually pretty simple. It's like, hi, hello, how are you? Awesome. Let me know if you need anything. But there are very few people who I can genuinely say that I'm like, oh my God.
The people that I have gotten starstruck over are like Lynn Stewart, who played Missy Vaughn on Pee-wee's Playhouse, Christy McNichol, Tommy Chung when I interviewed him. I mean, people like that, but most of the time I'm just objective. I'm just like, you're a person, I love your work, and that's about it. But then sometimes I just can't help myself.
No, definitely. I mean, there are some people that I don't know what it is. It's something about them, but it's definitely like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. I mean,
did I lose you? Oh.
Yeah. I mean, my worst celebrity meetings are like Linda Blair, Christy Swanson, Candy Clark, Tara Reid, Danielle Harris, Holly Marie Combs. I didn't like any of them. They were just kind of rude.
You didn't like them?
They were just kind of rude, yeah. But my best ones, the best. Oh, God. Terry Kaiser, E.G. Daly, Christy McNichol, P.J. Souls, Adrienne Barbeau, Robert Hayes. Lots of good people. Back in 2018, I want to say, Ty Mack was at Sinister Creature Con. Now, he's never been in a horror movie. He was in The Last Dragon, which was a martial arts movie. Have you guys talked about, getting more people who aren't necessarily in horror, but they're like a big draw for the convention circuit in general?
So that's a really good question. We actually have talked about like whether or not we want to also do another type of convention that is more based on different types of things.
Yeah.
So it's like a topic of conversation. However, if they've never done a horror film at all, like not one, we probably wouldn't have them at Sinister. Mm-hmm. But if they have done at least one horror film, even if it was minute and not very like well known, we might still have them on. Yeah,
because I'll tell you, I'm friends with the Go-Go's.
Oh, no way.
The drummer, Gina Shock, has been on here twice. Kathy Valentine, the bass player, is going to be coming on soon. And I know Jane Weedland a little bit. And they've all done cons. Gina just started a year ago. I helped get her into some cons. I actually, suggested her to some people. And Kathy, she did her first con earlier this year with Gina when Gina was in Texas, and Kathy lives in Texas, so they both got booked there. And Jane, she used to do a lot of cons because she was in Star Trek 4 and she was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I don't know if she would be willing to do cons again and stuff, but I recommend considering getting those members of the Go-Go's there.
Yeah. No, I think definitely we should offline this, and I'll have to reach out and see who you've got some connections with for our next event.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's so many people that I've had on the podcast multiple times that I haven't met in person. I'm always wondering why they're not getting booked in California. Like Lar Park Lincoln, like she hasn't done a con in California in years, and There's also people like, going back to Creature, the Creature herself, Marie Lauren, is a friend of mine. She's never done any cons, and she would like to start to do them. She just made a low-budget horror movie that her and her daughter wrote called The Uncanny, and it's not out yet.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, hey, I mean, we're always looking for more people. I think I can speak a little bit to why some people don't get booked. There's like a numerous amount of reasons. A lot of times it has to do with the agents. Sometimes it has to do with pricing. Sometimes they ask for more than what we think that we could draw for them. So depending on like what the guarantees look like, things like that. So a lot of it can be a little bit... if you want to say like the politics of finances, like, because we want to make sure that one, we're getting our money's worth and they're getting their money's worth. But if we don't feel like they're going to do a big draw, if they're asking for like $10,000, but they're only going to draw like 100 people, that for me isn't really worth it.
Well, Laura is very open about this, and she wouldn't mind me saying this. She handles her own business with the cons. She doesn't do the fanager thing. She's just like me. She's anti-fanager. I've had a lot of issues with those guys getting guests on the show and stuff, and so that's why I don't associate with them anymore. But I'm sure if you asked Laura, she would definitely do it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, hey, send her information on over, and I'm more than happy to reach out for our next event and see what it looks like.
Absolutely. When I used to go to the Sinister Creature Con a lot before COVID and stuff, I used to see Casey Hansen, the homicidal homemaker, there. She hasn't done one there in a while, and stuff. Yeah. And I've had her on. I had her on the podcast in 2019. She told me she was going to be taking a break from doing any cons and stuff. Have you guys heard from her? Is she ever going to come back?
No, but then again, we are kind of changing our process of like who reaches out and how we find our people. So this year has been like a huge year of change for Sinister Creature Con and for Love Horror events. So there's been an influx of new people. There's been an influx of like change in how we handle things, how we book people. So honestly, reminding us of these people who have come before and who we may want to have again. And I'm one of those people that I will take whatever our fans say and take it seriously, take it all the way to the top and see what we can do. If we can do it, we will. And if we can't, we can't. And, that's...
So how do you and your friend Kelly come up with Cider, Beer, and Fear?
So, funny story on that. My ex and I were talking one night, and he suggested that I start hanging out with his friend Kelly, who is part of Zombie Club. And so I was like, yeah, she sounds like fun. She does a lot of crafting. She does a lot of she's just a fun person. And so I went over to her house one night, and we were crafting together on some fun projects, and we just started talking about, it'd be really cool to have a podcast. And she goes, I had a podcast. I was like, what? You had a podcast? She goes, yeah. It was like, we talked about cryptoids, and we talked about paranormal stuff, and it was a lot of fun. She goes, but unfortunately my co-host, moved on and just didn't want to do it anymore. She goes, I'd really like to do it with somebody who actually, wants to continue to do it. And I was like, I would love to do that. So then we started talking about, kind of joking about we could talk about horror films. We could, because we're all so into it. We love zombies. We could do that. And she was like, are you serious? We could totally do this. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we started deciding what name we wanted to do. And we both like to drink wine. So originally we were doing we were going to do something like horror and wine, but it just didn't work. And then we talked about other things, and we realized I like to drink cider. She likes to drink beer. And I was like, so cider, beer, and fear. And she was like, yeah, that sounds great. And we just ran with it. It was so much fun.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, when you told me, when I saw you about the podcast and stuff, I was like, I got to listen to this. And I just think you two are so hilarious and also insightful. I like that episode where you're talking about the Columbine bullies.
Yeah, we actually just did that episode not that long ago.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool one, talk about something serious like that. Where do you two record at?
So It depends. So there was a time where we were recording in her trailer, and then there was a time where we were recording in a storage unit. We actually made a storage unit into a sound studio, and then we moved it to her bedroom because we got these microphones that are more like lapels, and for some reason the acoustics were perfectly fine in there, so we kind of went with that. We're still experimenting with how we want to do our podcast, like where we want to do it, if we need certain setup. We want to do video eventually, so just a lot of like trying to figure it out. Trial and error, you know.
Yeah, I generally record at my my desk with my laptop. Sometimes, though, if it's been a long day and I'm doing it later in the day, like I'm doing now, I'm just laying on my bed with it. I got metal in my legs, so it's just like I can't sit up for a long period of time anymore. You know.
Oh, hey, no, I don't blame you. We do it half the time sitting on a bed or laying on the bed too. We're just like hanging out and chatting and drinking and being ridiculous because it's, you know, if you have to, you shouldn't take yourself so seriously. At least that's my thought process.
Exactly. I think that as well. Yeah. So are you? So I can just imagine you two probably have like a couple of bottles or like a 6-pack when you're recording, right?
Yes. And sometimes we'll do like, I'll drink some wine right after. So like if I run out of cider, I'm sipping on wine for the rest of it because we go through it or we only get one can at a time or something, or we want to save it. So it just depends. It also depends on how good the cider is because we try to do something different each time. Yeah. So for me, if I don't like it, I'm not going to finish it.
I used to smoke pot before my shows, like in the early episodes. And I listen to them now, I'm like, oh God, I'm so fucking embarrassed. I'm just all over the place and forgetting shit and just, oh my God, I can't believe it. So in the last 3 years or so, I've replaced it with coffee, and coffee has worked out well for me.
So I hear you're on like episode 1900 and what is this, 1903, 1904? Where are we at?
1903.
1903. Okay. All right. I dig it.
Yeah. How often do you drop new episodes?
So we were dropping it every week, but for the last 2 weeks, because we're in preparation for October, we took a break because October is literally our busiest month, like for both of us, because she handles a lot of Zombie Club and I handle mostly Sinister. But I mean, I assist where I can with them. And so for the most part, we usually drop on Sundays, but we have not dropped. So we're looking to restart it back up in November, probably close to around my birthday, because I think my birthday actually is on a Sunday. So it'll be dropped on my birthday.
When's your birthday?
November 12th. I think it's a Sunday. I'm not sure.
You're a Scorpio?
I'm a Scorpio. Yeah, I know.
Moody, horny, and hold grudges.
All of those things are true.
Yeah. I'm a Gemini. I'm very.
I was just about to ask what's yours.
Yeah, I'm a Gemini, very sweet, but also so dirty, so bawdy.
Do you know what your rising sign is too?
Someone asked me that not too long ago. I can't remember. It may be Pisces, which scares me because my parents are both Pisces.
My rising sign is Sagittarius.
Okay. Yeah, my brother's a Sagittarius. He's December 21st.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, how did that Killer Clowns event go?
Oh, it was so good. My daughter actually went to it. She's 9, and she had a blast. They had like a little dance party after, and she was up on stage just like dancing like crazy. We like viewed the film. We had so many people in so many wonderful costumes. There was so much signage occurring, which was a lot of fun too, to like see everybody so excited, which makes me happy. It makes me feel like I'm doing a good job when we see all of our patrons like just happy, having a good time, enjoying the show. Really missed you there. It would have been so much fun to have you. But it definitely was, it was good. It was fun.
Yeah, it's just because I don't drive, it's very hard for me to get out far away often. But yeah, I mean, I met Grant Kramer and Suzanne Snyder at Sinister Creature Con in 2018,
Yeah.
and Grant's been on the show. Suzanne was actually supposed to be on the show on my birthday 5 years ago, and she was overwhelmed with her daughter's wedding. I remember at the time, so. We have a mutual friend trying to make it happen this year, so hopefully, fingers and toes crossed, I'll have Suzanne Snyder on soon.
That is so cool. You've got to be super proud of yourself.
I am. I mean, I'm so happy that my parents can also tune in and listen and hear me, gab with these people. I just wish that certain conventions would like ask me to host panels so they can be actually there and see me on stage with these people. I would just get a thrill out of that,
Well, we're always looking for volunteers, and maybe one of these times you can come to Sinister and we can see what we can do. You never know. I can't promise nothing, but I can definitely say you have the personality for it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's funny. 2 years ago, there's this couple, Dave and Marina. They have a bunch of cons. They have they're mostly Comic Con people. They have two in the Bay, close to the Bay Area, one in Idaho, one in Washington, and one in Vegas. And I was supposed to do one that was in the Bay Area 2 years ago, but two things happened. One, my mom had surgery, and I had to watch her that weekend, and so I had to drop out of it because of that. And then two, the actor was Tom Sizemore, and I've heard so many horror stories about him. I just did not want to be a part of it, so I dodged the bullet there. So I was happy, but I don't think Dave is too enthusiastic about me hosting a panel in the future because my replacement dropped out at the last minute as well.
Oh no.
Yeah, I got him a replacement. I don't know if you know Ronnie Angel.
No. Who's that?
He had a table at Sister Creature Con, I think back in 18 or 19, and he's written a couple of horror books. He's a great guy. I love him, but he had to drop out at last minute too, and I was like, damn it. I'm like, he gave me a bad reputation because of that.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. And it's a small world. Like, people don't realize how small comic conventions are. Like, whether it's a horror convention or a Comic-Con or something like that, SAC Anime, things like that. It's very tight knit, close. Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. So real quick, we gotta play my secret silly game.
Yes.
This is a series of silly slumber party questions. No win or lose, it's just pure fun. And how the game works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me that exact same question and I answer it. And feel free to comment on answers because they might be funny.
Okay, let's do it.
Audrey, are you ticklish?
Not really, but I can be. It just really depends on how you tickle me.
Okay.
How about you? Are you ticklish?
Yes, if you tickle me without warning, though, I might hit you in the groin.
But I might hit you back then.
Yeah. I love a woman who can defend herself. I really do. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
It's an innie. Is yours an innie or an outie?
It is also an innie as well, yes.
All the better for shots.
Yeah, a girl told me once I could fit crystal meth in there.
Oh my god.
It was that deep, yeah. What color are your toenails painted?
My toenails are a dark purple, which apparently is a theme on this show.
Yes, I had the lavender purple last time, but right now they're not painted. They're au naturel.
Au naturel? Do they smell au naturel too?
I don't know. I probably need a shower. What would you say is your best personality trait?
My sense of humor and my wit. Yeah. What's yours?
I have empathy and I have no filter.
How do you have both of those? Tell me.
Let's see. If I'm talking to a person I really, really like, and I know that we're like-minded. I know I'm not going to make them uncomfortable with my non-filter, but if I'm talking to people who have complete opposite, kind of characteristics, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and not make them uncomfortable. However, if they're a jerk to me, then I'll make them uncomfortable.
If you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all.
Exactly. If you could have anything named after you, what would it be?
Oh. Damn it. Oh, a convention. Audree's convention. I mean, how cool would that be?
Audree's Horror?
Audree's Horror Convention. Actually, it would have to say Audree's Horror, like horror convention. So like WHORE.
That sounds good. Yeah.
What about you? What would you have named after you?
A vibrator.
So that you could be inside everyone?
Yep, every woman or man in the world, they can have a little bit of the Tommy Chatsy.
You have to use the full name for the product, though.
No, I think I'll have a picture on it like Paul Newman had on his products.
Technically, you can do those molds, right? Like you could sell them. It could be some merchandise, Tommy.
Oh yeah, like I said to someone the other day, if it has a clit sucker, it can be called the Tommy Constrictor. And then my favorite question: is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
No. It's usually I'm visual. I'm more visual than I am like sensory. So no, I can't say that there is, but I'm sure there's something. I just haven't come across it. But I'm also a mom, so to be fair.
Oh yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, either farts or feet.
Really?
Yeah.
Just those two. You're like a cat. You make that cat face of like, you stink.
Yeah. I mean, feet have to be clean for me to get near them, and I don't like farts too much. My friend Miss Misery, who does Sinister Creature Con, she told me she can tolerate the smell of her son's shit.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Not only Elvira's going to be there this time, but also Kirsten Baker and Billy Zane. Oh my God, I met his sister Lisa from Freddy's Dead once. She's a character.
So cool.
Yes. So October 21st to the 22nd at the Scottish Rite Center in Sacramento. And I can't wait, Audrey. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Can't wait to have you, Tommy. Thank you so much for having me, and you have a good one.
Yes, I will see you that Saturday, and if you don't mind, I'll give you a great big hug when I see you. And
sounds like a plan.
It'll be a lot of fun. You have a great night, have a great workout, and be safe.
You too. Thank you, and bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Audree Wahlen. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh, she is a lot of fun. I like how she has this great balance between being a nerdy horror fan with a politically incorrect sense of humor, but also being a serious businesswoman at the same time. I think she is just wonderful, and I can't wait to see her. Go to Sinister Creature Con, October 21st to 22nd. Go on the 21st to meet Elvira, because if you're in the Sacramento area, that's the only time you're going to meet her. She's getting up there in age. Go fucking see Cassandra Peterson. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.